What was I scared of? You don't even know that log's there.
Hey, thanks for clicking on this video. You'll rack your brain if you try to do this. I'm gonna list you 40 bikes I've owned. I actually forgot some, so you'll see me at the end of the video again, just like this.
Welcome everyone. As you can see, I'm back on the YZ250, the 01. I may or may not release a video of the rebuild. As you recall, it was vibrating like crazy. We put crank bearings in it, so on and so forth. I didn't film as much of the rebuild as I'd like to, so it'll like jump from me tearing it down to it being done practically. So I don't know if that video will come out or not. Anyway, it's looking good, it's running good. But today's video, I'm gonna try to go through in pretty much order every bike I've had, dirt bikes, street bikes, pit bikes. I have a list taped to the bars there. I'm gonna try to go through. The hardest part is gonna be me finding pictures of everyone to put in while I'm doing this. And, you know, if I can't find a picture of my bike, I'll put another one up and just, it'll be noted. But I do have pictures of like 90% of these bikes, I'm pretty sure. Somewhere. It's just how deep do I want to go in hard drives and old photos. So that's what we're going to do today. Okay, let's start back at number 1. You have to ask my dad exactly, but I think it was like my 2nd birthday, or maybe my, like, it was the summer of, I don't know. I don't know exactly when I got this bike, but I had a Y-Zinger. You guys might know them as a PW50. Before they were PW50s, they were Y-Zingers in the early 80s. And I had that bike for a good many years. Again, I started riding it when I was about 5, rode it until I was about 8. And then Dad wanted me to start using the clutch. He got me number 2, the Yamaha GT80. This is 1979. It was my first bike with a clutch. When your old man is yelling at you, pulling the clutch, you're going too fast, you're going too slow, shift the gear, hit the brakes. It's a little frustrating. So I really didn't ride too much from like, ouch, 8 to 12-ish. It just didn't happen. One tarnation. I can tell you exactly when, though, I started riding that GT80 more. My dad had it out. I think I was beating the 50 around. And my grandfather on my mother's side, who doesn't even ride motorcycles and has long passed away, he was at the house. And I knew how to ride a clutch and everything. I just didn't like doing it with Dad, sorta. So I just got on it and started it. And started riding it. So from then on, like 12, 13, I was on a GT80. This bike lugs great. Electron carburetor makes this thing really fun. Okay. Then I got a little too big for a GT80. So number 3, a 1972 DT250. If you guys are familiar with vintage Yamahas, you know what a DT is. If not, like a full-size street and trail at the time. I wouldn't call it dopey, but in today's standards it is. I started beating that around back behind Dad's house. And I started meeting guys in junior high that also rode dirt bikes. And that's when I met my buddy Scott. But my good buddy John, he didn't ride dirt bikes at all. Well, he rode mine, he knew how to once again, but he didn't own one. We started looking for a bike for him. And we found him a 1980, maybe 82. Same bike though, XT250. My dad, myself and him went to look at it. And it's street legal, you know, it was a dual sport. So my dad basically told John, you know, if you don't buy this, I'm going to. Meaning, my dad was gonna buy it for me. So that was my fourth bike, a 1980, maybe an 82 XT250. I rode that until I was about 16. And I put it into a tree pretty hard and folded the forks back to put like the tire back to the frame. And I was playing in bands at the time. I was into music, playing in bands. So I sold that bike for a guitar amp. I kind of remember that. I kind of distinctly remember that. And didn't really touch bikes all through high school. I rode some of my buddies' stuff, and I got out of high school, hit like 18, 19 years old, I think I was. All my buddies, had a buddy with an XR400, had a buddy with a DRZ. We went riding. Dad let me borrow his XT350, and I was like, man, I need a bike again. My fifth bike was a 2003 KLX 400 SR, if you want to call it that. As you know, those are like DRZs, same bike, 1 year here, 2 years in Canada. Then you can get an 03 in the States, 03 and 04. In Canada, they had a KLX 400 SR was the full name, I believe. But I had the 03 and rode that for years, like 10 years. Got into motorcycles again, beat the snot out of it. I only put like 10,000 miles on it, but it was like 10,000 miles like this. I mean, it wasn't... And I also used it, I rode it the whole way to Indiana, PA, which is only like half hour but from my house, but I rode it all over. I used it to commute as well as my dirt bike. I mean, that was my everything bike from like 2005 until like 2012. I feel like I had that bike longer, like 05. Anyway, next, wanted something a little more racy. Got an 02 KX 250, completely done up for woods. It was, besides the 19-inch rear still, I mean, it had handguard, skid plate, weighted flywheel. Got that, I think with a tax return or something. I got it for like $1,700 because you used to be able to buy two strokes like that for that price. And rode that one, no one to ride with, so it was like not fun, you know. So I picked up then 2012. Now Dad bought me this one. We don't come from a rich family, but I always had anything I needed. I never went hungry. Anyway, Dad brought home one day a 2012 leftover KLR 650. That bike, I put 25,000 miles on in a couple years. That was a good dual sport, big and heavy. Met up with guys in Pittsburgh that dual sported. So now they're on smaller dual sports, and here I am on the biggest freaking one they make. So since I knew I loved that XT250 when I was a kid, I bought one of those. So number 8 is the 82 XT250. Maybe this one was a 1980, but it was pretty much identical to the one I had at 15. I loved beating it to death, to the point where I started ARMA racing it, you know, American Historic Racing Motorcycle Association. Vintage cross country, post vintage because of its year. Did okay on it, liked it so much I said I want the TT, which is like the same bike, a little more off-roady. So number 9, 1980 TT250. So I had those for a while. I'm not gonna, you know, there's a lot of these are getting sold. I don't have all these bikes still. A lot of them were, you know, sold while I was getting another one and whatever. So then now I'm working at the Yamaha shop, number 10. So this is my 10th bike. We're already up into like my 20s. Like this is only 10 years ago, and then it expanded exponentially after that. I got a 2013 XT250 fuel injected model. Still had my old XT, had the 2013 or 2015, whatever year they became injected. I want to say 13, so maybe mine was a 15. Had that. Of course, it was a small guy. It was cool. It's in videos. You could look back and find it. While I was working in the Yamaha shop, I bought an old, since I was into old bikes, I don't remember the year. I want to say it was an 80 or 82 Suzuki. So this is number 11. Suzuki TS 250 ER, I believe they call it. It had a little headlight with like a fairing almost, like a surround. That I just got running. I mean, it ran. I rode it for a while and sold it. It wasn't a big one. Picked up a roller, basically a blown up, you know, like engine out of this and sitting in the shed. 84 XT250. So number 12 is an 84 XT250. At the same time-ish, number 13, I got James's XT250. My buddy James had the same XT as me. So what I ended up doing is taking both of those bikes, took the 82 engine, put it in the 84. Now, one is four valve twin overhead cam, one is single overhead cam, 2-valve, but the bottom ends were the same. So it bolted in, and I only had to make some motor mounts and some boots. There is a video of that one also, so you could check that bike out. That was a number 12 and 13. So number 12 was the 84, number 13 was the 82, but then I made one bike out of both of those. Okay, remember, I'm into vintage racing. Well, I was. A TT250 is like what you would think a TTR is now. It is a trail bike. It is not a race bike. So I went and got an 81 IT250. So number 14 is an IT250. 81 was white. Mine was white. I think that's what year it was. It's long gone. It went to California, I think. A guy picked it up on someone paid to have it hauled. Okay, number 15. Then I got this 02-ish. I don't remember. KDX 220. It had a KX fork on it. It was okay. I raced a Rattlesnake National Enduro with it. And, you know, KDXs are cool if they're all done up, but they're still like an old bike. It's like building this YZ. Like, end of the day, this is an old bike. So it was a good bike, but I probably needed money at the time. I remember selling it. That was gone. While I'm working at the Yamaha shop, and actually before some of these bikes, number 16 is my 2015 SR400. I still have that bike. That one probably won't ever get sold. They stopped making them in 22, something like that. And so they went from like 78 to 22, not in the States, but continuously. Fuel injected model. It's cool. I have a Power Commander on it. There's videos of it. Me riding it a little back in the old videos, and there's a Power Commander video on it. I use it now to show students how Power Commander works. It's all worked, and I have the auto-tune module on it, so it can constantly read its air fuel and adjust for it. So that's a pretty cool bike. Now, before I get to this next bike, I want to say that a lot of these, if you know me, I worked at the Yamaha shop, and a lot of these bikes, damn it, came in on trade. Number 17 is one of those. A kid wanted to trade it in. I never even seen one. It's a 1983 Yamaha Venture. Now, those aren't worth a lick to a dealer. So my boss said, hey, maybe you want this old piece of heat, you know? And I did. I bought it. It was very brittle. Do you guys know what I mean? Like 1983 hard plastic, just like cracked and everything else. It went to All Over Creation. But getting into big touring bikes then, you know, I started getting on Marketplace, started searching, found an 87 Goldwing. Boy, I drove pretty far for that one. So since I got into the big touring bikes, I found a Goldwing, and number 18 is an 87 Honda Goldwing. Then I went through a run of XRs, and I can't remember if it's a, you guys could tell me, I have a video on it and I can't remember. I don't remember if it's a XR250L that's street legal or if it's an XL250. I had one of those. That's number 19. Number 20, XR250R. Got that on a trade, but I'll get to that in a second. And number 21, XR350. Rare bird, 1983, which I think is like the first year for him. About this time, so you'll laugh, before, number 22 is a 2006 KLR 650 first gen. So I had traded my 2012 KLR even up for the XT. Then I traded the XT even up for an even older KLR. I went backwards. Number 22 was an 06 KLR 650. That one, like I said, well, that one went 2 up to Ocean City, Maryland. Put a lot of miles on it. All right, number 23, 24, 25, and 26, all pit bikes. Number 23, I bought a basket case. Really? I bought a basket case, like who knows what brand, off-brand pit bike. Bought one of them Life in 125 engines in it, or Life in 125 engines, and put it in it. The problem with that is it was like a 50cc frame. I think it was a 70, which is the same size frame as the 50. So it did not, it was a death trap. The next pit bike, which would be number 23, right? No, 24, was my first Apollo. It was an RFC 18 with a clutch. It was like a bigger one. Number 25 was an Apollo RFC. It was the auto clutch one, a 110. So I had a 125 and then I had a 110. And then since I've been teaching, I got this real roach one off of one of my students. I put a pipe and stuff on, and I never made any videos with it. Getting on to number 27, my second DRZ. The first one, I guess, really wasn't a DRZ, it was a KLX, but I picked that one up again from the dealership. Kid wanted to trade it. It was slap wore out. No cam chain tensioner. It still ran, it carried on. It was sketchy. Bought it for real cheap. Put a big bore kit in it. Redid the plastics. There's one short video of it. Didn't like the 87 Goldwing. So number 28 is my 88 Goldwing, which is a 1500, not a 1200. Bought that off my boss at the Yamaha shop. It's a good unit, still have it. I'd take it anywhere. Next, I was missing a dual sport. I wanted to be street legal because the DRZ was gone. Sold it during COVID. Made good money on it. So I got a 93 KLX 650. We're getting up into current times. We're only like a year ago here. That was a good bike. But I started hill climbing and I needed something a little lighter, a little more you know, revier. So I buy a modern 250F, a YZ 250F. So what number is that now? Number 30, my YZ 250F. I traded my truck for it. It was sold to me as a 2010. It wasn't even a 2010 body style. And I couldn't check the VIN because it was the only bike I ever bought with the VIN scratched off. So I don't know if it was stolen or the guy just never paid for it or what. And that was an okay bike. I was a fan. It got me really into riding modern bikes again, I'll be honest. That 250F gave me like gave me a boost to like let shred energy, you know. I think a guy listed this bike for trade for a dual sport maybe. So I went down to Maryland. I traded him for number 31, the RT 180, and number 32, this bike, the 01 YZ 250. I did a lot of stuff to this. There's several videos on it. It's on its second top end with me. It didn't need the second one, but I had it apart to do crank bearings. Tested out a $20 piston. I got heavier sprung rear suspension. I took the front suspension off my 250F and put it on this bike because it's an SSS fork. So that's why this has a more modern fork on this 01. I guess it's a common swap to do. It does, I really like this front end. No valving or nothing done to it, not even springs. Just freshened it up, new seals. And because Dad always had one, the guy said, hey, I know you like them old XTs. I know where there's a 500. So number 33 is a 1980 XT 500. It was rough. It's back not too many videos. You can find it pretty quick. And since I had that, little Dad's buddy, he had some 76 frames. I basically had another complete bike. So I'm counting number 34 as the 76 frame. I made a whole bike out of it, so it was a bike. It was like 2 frames, a set of forks, 1.5 engines. So in the fall, the auto tech teacher goes, Roundhouse has KX 450s for whatever, $6 grand. I said, no, they don't. It's a $10,000 bike. Well, they were leftovers. They were base model on clearance. So number 35, as you've seen me hill climbing stuff, is my 23 KX 450. And it was like $6 grand, but till you get tax and everything, and at the time I financed it, it was $7, but number 36, my 2018 KTM 500 EXCF. That has been a good bike so far. I like it. If you've seen, I've actually put extensions on it. I'm going to take them off. I got a dual sport trip coming up here. So if you're younger, don't be discouraged and think you have to own one of every bike. I know a kid that's like that. He's probably going to watch this video. He thinks that, I don't know, I think he likes trading bikes and quads more than he likes riding the dang things.
While I was doing this, I actually forgot 4 bikes. Let's go to number 37, a 1973 LT3. So that's an LT100. I still own this bike. It's technically my dad's. He bought my TT250 for me, so I paid him with that bike. Next up, number 38, I had a 1998 TW200. Had that for a while, fun bike. Put a downpipe on it. I don't know if I have that picture or not, but it was funny. Number 39, I don't know how I forgot, but the first bike I bought myself, brand new, was a 2021 Versys 300. Had it for a while. Nothing really to report, but it was a cool bike. Traded it in for the payoff, you know. And last but not least, a bike. It's a 96 or 98. I'd have to, it's that era, so maybe 96. RM125. Did a beautiful restore on it. Sent the cylinder out. New sleeve, made it nice, new plastics, rode it for like maybe 10 hours. As soon as I sold it, it blew up, and I felt like, oh, I was so angry about it because the guy was like, hey, this blew up. I'm like, shoot. But what are you gonna do? It's a used bike. I don't know what I did wrong, but it chewed the top of the piston up, wiped the crank bearings out. I didn't do a bottom end on that one, so that's probably what came apart.
Shoo! Anyhow, thank you for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed seeing some pictures of some bikes I've owned. Get the history on me a little more. How I've owned a little bit of everything. A little bit of race bike, a little bit of dual sport, a little bit of street bike, a little bit of every stuff, huh? All right, thanks.